Blessed rising, family, wholeness and balance. Hope you're having a beautiful day. Jesse Tree here, enjoying just a glorious morning in my food forest. Got this wonderful peach tree behind me, and I have some coalescence of thought that has been going on between my practice with Breatharianism and listening to some of my favorite social media influencers in the realm of raw food and health in general, and just wanted to share some thoughts. So, starting off with, my experience combined with Hilton Hotema. This is like the Breatharian he wasn't so much a nutritionist, he was like a health advocate, and that's part of the understanding with Breatharianism is nutrition is sort of a myth. Really what it's about is prana, life force, chi, ka, the vital principle, the 0-point energy field, etc. And that we are beings of energy in a sea of energy, and that energy is consciousness and love. And what the cause of illness is the obstruction of the flow of that energy. And so, according to Hilton Hotema, there's this, people were always breatharians. We're still breatharians, and what makes us sick is the accumulation of toxins, and that everything in nature has toxicity to it. This is true. This is toxicology. This is every plant, everything has some portion of poison, and it's all dependent on dosage. Even water can kill you if you drink too much of it at once. So this kind of dovetails into Arnold Erhet's thinking about how we're kind of like a gas electricity machine, and the more open your dantian is, the diaphragm for diaphragmatic breathing, and the lungs and the organs of the air passages, and the obstructions in our eliminatory system and in our lymphatic system and in our fascia and in our thinking, and all these things cause more resistance of the flow of this electricity, because there's this like obstruction, So then we have the thoughts from Arnold Erhet that are sort of shared by Professor Spira, and the whole thinking of the mucusless diet. This goes into Dr. Sebi, Dr. Robert Morse, how all toxicity is the accumulation of a pathogenic mucus. So there's beneficial mucus and there's pathogenic mucus, and this pathogenic mucus develops as a result of the continued accumulation of, from acid foods, chemicals, toxins, Roundup, atrazine, chemical fragrances. All these things lodge in our lymphatic system, lodge in our eliminatory system, and after it starts filling up here, then you get it into your respiratory system, and then finally into your brain. So this causes all manner of havoc in the consciousness of the human. That most of our neurotransmitters are made in our gut now, and we find that our heart is 60% neural tissue. The lungs really are key for oxygenation, and that oxygenation is a form of energy, that love is a form of energy, that fun is a form of energy, sound, color. So there's also cosmic energy coming down, there's negative ions coming up. So now we're learning the science of grounding, sun gazing, sunbathing, the benefits in quantum biology that's coming through about how this relationship with the sun and the earth, and this, it's electrical, right? You know, grounding, literally like grounding the ground in your house so that your electricity doesn't fry out, you know. So there's all of that stuff, and then there's been people like Dan McDonald recently, and the Vegetable Police, two really intelligent, good people that I have been following for many years. Dan McDonald was one of my original inspirations to raw food lifestyle and to get out. Him and like David Wolf explore wild foods and herbs and become an herbalist and all this stuff. You know, he was a great inspiration for me, and now he's interested in breatharianism, and he's got it down. He totally understands. Vegetable Police is curious. He just did like an 8-day dry fast, but he's still eating meat. And this is one of the things that Hilton Hotema talks about, is actually the worst food is going to be your grains and your sugar and, you know, rancid seed oils and processed foods and all that, you know, fast food and, you know, chemical dyes and MSG and all that crap. That's like the worst food. And that coincides also with the Taoist philosophies of Bigu state, which is breatharianism, and that word Bigu state essentially refers to having no parasites, needing no or little food or water, and having long life, never getting sick, and not really having to experience heat or cold. So this is something that the ancients were practicing. Now we're starting, you know, so this coincides with Hilton Hotema's, you know, philosophy that we were always breatharians at one point, you know, sort of even the idea of the eating of the fruit of the Garden of Eden, starting to consume things, brought us down. That was like the fall, you know, from our angelic state as light beings that are completely free. Imagine if you didn't have to go to work to sustain yourself. Imagine it resting in total trust on nature and your own body, knowing that it's totally there to support you. Imagine how much fear could be released, how much freedom could be opened up. So that's the appeal, and the you know, and we could also get into long life, into deep spiritual practice, past life recall. You know, just the act of fasting they found increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and so, you know, this literally helps you be more conscious, this lifestyle. So one thing that came to mind, you know, in speaking about, okay, so let's build this pyramid, this food pyramid, according to Hilton Hotema, and this resonates pretty true from all of the research and study I've done over the last, you know, 12, 13 years. That, you know, so we had those really toxic foods. In Ayurveda, those would be the tamasic foods, you know, all that fast food, junk food. You know, why would you put anything in your body that you would call junk? You know, this most precious thing. Of all your possessions, this is the most precious one. You know, why not give it the very best? So anyway, going on. So up from all that food is actually vegetables. People, you know, aren't really going to like the sound of this, but it's, if you look at it, this is also part of like the wisdom of Dr. Sebi, and what he was talking about, the hybridization, the denaturing of foods, as we hybridize foods to have them be sweeter, you know, bigger, juicier, not necessarily more phytochemically rich, nutrient rich, but more appealing, you know, because that's this thing, you know, with food and sex and death are all kind of connected. It's all this root chakra, you know, and when this is full, you're more likely to crave, you know, as it empties, the craving, you know. And when you can clean all of this out, this release, this relinquishment, this freedom is profound. I'm, you know, I'm a level 4. I drink juice every day. and I have a little bit of solid things of like seaweed and lettuce. But I dry fast every day for 23 hours, and I've been doing that process for 3 years now. And then liquiditarian, like I would say 96%, 95, 97% liquiditarian for the last 7 years. So that alone has been really transformative. Any of you who have been on like a juice fast kind of test the way it not only, it's hard, and it not only relieves physical distress and disease, but mental distress and disease. So, that's the potential of this is, freedom from all forms of disease, all suffering, which is my goal as a Buddhist, is to help relieve suffering to the best of my ability on this planet, in myself, starting with myself, and then sharing as I'm able to gain ground there, how to help others. So I think so many people are called to this, and that's because we're all Buddhists. But anyway, it's not like there's just one. You should be aware of that. You probably are. We all know, right? So anyway, going on from there, these are things that are going to be like your, the vegetables. If you think about like a lot of the vegetables you get in the store are actually one kind of mustard. If you look at broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, arugula, that's all just mustard. It's only one plant. So you're getting and mustards are really helpful for healing cancer, but they're also high in goitrogens and other things that are, problematic. Goitrogens negatively affect your thyroid functioning. And you have things like spinach and stuff that are high in oxalates that have, problems. So everything except for, the Taoist tonic herbs, which are the herbs of heaven that nourish Jing, Qi, and Shun, are going to be problematic, more or less. And that's what the Taoist adepts ate, things like ginseng and astragalus and goji berry and reishi mushroom and, pine needles and dandelions. And there's food that is high vibration, high biophoton, high medicinal phytochemistry, things that can help nourish you into the state. That's going to be like that top level of herbs. Herbs I think of as a different category that hasn't been typified in a lot of these nutritional paradigms or archetypes. The herbs are the highest in my view. So anyway, after the veggies comes meat, and if you look at native people, I made a repost of an Arnold Erhet quote that offended a lot of native friends and stuff like that. And I have no beef. I'm not trying to say to anyone that what they're doing is bad. I'm just trying to say this good, this is good, and wherever you're at, just try to go to a higher place. You want to anyways. Everyone wants to feel better, higher, healthier, stronger, more confident, more self-possessed, and as the Navajo say, we all deserve confidence, joy, and peace. Five-fingered beings deserve confidence, joy, and peace. Everyone. And all beings, really, if you extend it in the Buddhist sense. So, and that's why, if you look at native people, they're strong. That's why people are having healing benefit with the carnivore diet, stuff like that. Now, as a Buddhist, that goes against my principles, but once again, I'm not saying you bad, me good. That's just my principles. That's the integrity that I want to live, that resonates with me and feels most true to my heart. So that's what I'm going to do, and I honor you in your path wherever you are. But that's one of my values, is to do no harm, to be gentle, to learn to be as gentle as possible in a world that is hard. And that's not to be weak. That is actually takes great strength, great inner strength, which is the true place of strength. So moving beyond, more out of my personal feelings into this sort of philosophy and paradigm. And the highest foods are going to be the fruits. Highest in biophotons, highest in water, highest in antioxidants, highest in, things like the sugars in there. That actually, there's been a bunch of research that's been coming out. There's a doctor and professor at Berkeley who has been researching plant-based diets. He reversed his type 1 diabetes and has helped like thousands of people reverse type 1. Eating too much protein actually is what leads to type 2 and type 1 diabetes. This is not, none of this is medical advice, just to be clear, right? But he's able to reverse his type 1 with an all plant-based diet and heavy on the fruit. And he did studies about the mitochondria and the way high protein diets shrink the mitochondria and make them more insulin resistant. And you'd think that like the sugary fruits would be more problematic, but they're actually, they balance and stabilize the mitochondria to be more insulin sensitive. So the science is starting to come to back this up. I'm seeing I'm running out of storage on my phone. I'm going to try to wrap up this point. But just to make comments to people like Dan, that you're well on your way to breatharianism. People who are in raw food or fruitarianism, you're on your way to breatharianism. If you're working with meditation, we're all breatharians. You know, if you want the health, work with fasting, work with the superfoods, the juices, you know, the fruits, you know, cleanse out these energetic channels of the lymphatic system, move your body to clean up the stagnation in your fascia, you know, and realize your highest potential. So I hate to kind of stop it there because there's so much more I want to share about this, but over time I'll just make more videos. And in the meanwhile, I hope you got something from this. This is something you can actualize on any level. That was the one last thing, is be wary of going too hard too fast. Autotoxicity, that's how people get hurt, is as you do this, you free up toxicity that's in your body and it messes you up. So do a little cleansing. You can go back to the foods that you've been eating that you find problematic, but then just keep on cleansing out. They say if you use the 80-20 rule, if 80% of the time you're doing the good stuff, 20% of the time, cut yourself slack, you'll be more successful. So more on that later. Hope you got something from this, family. Send you all the blessed, wholeness and balance. Be well.